The silent vanguard. The great halls of the consortium's high command echoed with the confident footsteps of Supreme Commander Vexthor as he strode toward the central chamber. His iridescent scales gleamed under the artificial light, a testament to his species' evolutionary superiority. The massive doors parted before him, revealing the gathered assembly of the galaxy's most powerful beings. "The human problem," Vexthor announced, his multifaceted eyes scanning the chamber, "has been contained." A wave of satisfaction rippled through the assembled alien leaders. Their recent campaign against Earth had been swift and decisive. Or so they believed. High above the consortium's capital world, automated defense platforms maintained their endless vigil. The mighty alien fleet, comprising vessels that dwarfed Earth's largest cities, patrolled vital trade routes with impunity. None questioned their dominance of the galaxy. But in the depths of an asteroid field at the edge of human space, something stirred. The Ghost Fleet, humanity's best-kept secret, was about to change everything. Within the command center of the fleet's flagship, Spectre, Admiral Maya Wong studied tactical displays with unwavering focus. "Status report," she commanded, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's future. "All systems nominal, Admiral," Lieutenant Commander Jackson reported. "The quantum stealth field is stable. We're completely invisible to their sensors." The Ghost Fleet represented the pinnacle of human ingenuity, ships that could bend light, absorb radar, and mask their thermal signatures. While the consortium believed they had crushed Earth's military might, they had merely destroyed decoys and outdated vessels. The real fleet had remained hidden, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "The consortium grows more complacent by the day," Maya observed, watching feeds from their infiltration probes. "They've reduced patrols in the Arcturus sector by 30%. "Arrogance," Jackson replied, "their greatest weakness." Maya allowed herself a small smile. The aliens had never considered that humans might develop technology beyond their understanding. The quantum stealth field was something entirely new, not mere cloaking technology, but a way to exist slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. "Begin Operation Phantom Strike," Maya ordered. "Alert all vessels. We move in 6 hours." Throughout the Ghost Fleet, crews prepared for battle with quiet efficiency. These weren't the brash warriors the consortium expected from humanity. They were patient hunters, trained to strike from shadows and disappear before the enemy could respond. The first indication that something was wrong came when a consortium supply depot in the Arcturus sector simply ceased transmission. No distress call, no warning, just silence. By the time investigation vessels arrived, they found only debris and sophisticated viral code corrupting their computer systems. In the consortium high command, alarms began to sound. Vexthor rushed to the central chamber, his earlier confidence evaporating as reports flooded in. 3 more facilities had gone dark. Patrol vessels were reporting ghost readings, sensor echoes that vanished as quickly as they appeared. "Impossible," he snarled, studying the tactical displays. "They were defeated. We saw their fleets burn." But the evidence was undeniable. Something was systematically dismantling their outer defensive network, and they couldn't even detect the attackers. The mighty consortium, for the first time in its history, felt fear. Aboard the Spectre, Maya watched as the first phase of their operation unfolded perfectly. "Send the message," she commanded. Throughout consortium space, communication systems were hijacked. On every screen, in every vessel and facility, the same words appeared. "You thought you knew humanity's limits. You were wrong." The Ghost Fleet struck again and again, targeting supply lines and communication hubs. They appeared like phantoms, struck with surgical precision, and vanished before the consortium could respond. Each attack eroded not just the aliens' military capability, but their very confidence in their superiority. "Admiral," Jackson reported, "the consortium is mobilizing their main fleet. They're abandoning their patrol routes to protect their core worlds." Maya nodded, satisfaction evident in her expression. "Exactly as predicted. Their arrogance makes them predictable. They can't accept that we might have technology they don't understand. As the first day of Operation Phantom Strike drew to a close, the mighty consortium found itself in an unfamiliar position, defending against an enemy they couldn't see or understand. Their assumption of human inferiority had led them to this moment, and now they would learn the true cost of their arrogance. In the darkness of space, the Ghost Fleet prepared for its next strike. Humanity had been underestimated for the last time. The war for survival had become a hunt, and the hunters were no longer the mighty consortium, but the very species they had dismissed as primitive. The silent vanguard of humanity's revenge was just beginning its work, and the galaxy would never be the same. Shadows of defiance. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the helm of the stealth destroyer Wraith, watching the holographic display as it mapped the consortium's defensive grid. Her ship was the newest addition to the Ghost Fleet, incorporating improvements based on their early successes against the alien empire. Quantum field stable at 98%, reported Lieutenant Rivera from her station. We're completely dark. Sarah nodded, her eyes never leaving the display. The Wraith had been her command for 3 months now, and every mission reinforced what humanity had learned about their adversaries. The consortium's technology was impressive, but it was rigid, unchanging. They hadn't faced a serious challenge in centuries, and it showed in their tactics. Multiple consortium warships detecting, announced Commander Hayes, her tactical officer. They're running standard search patterns. No indication they can see us. The alien vessels were massive, bristling with weapons that could reduce planets to ash. But they were looking for conventional threats. Energy signatures, gravitational distortions, the usual signs of cloaked ships. The quantum field technology operated on principles the consortium hadn't even theorized yet. "Show me their command ship," Sarah ordered. The display shifted, focusing on a vessel twice the size of the others. "That's our target. Time to show them another trick." The Wraith's engineering team had spent months perfecting their new weapon system. Traditional energy weapons were powerful but easily detected. Their solution was elegantly simple: microscopic drones that could pass through the quantum field and deliver devastating attacks at the molecular level. "Launch Penetrator Swarm," Sarah commanded. "Target their primary power distribution nodes." Thousands of drones, each smaller than a grain of sand, streamed from the Wraith's launchers. They passed through the quantum field, briefly visible as a silver mist before disappearing completely. The consortium ships continued their patrol, oblivious to the approaching threat. The first sign of trouble came when the alien command ship shields began to flicker. Alarms blared across their fleet as system after system began failing. The drones were systematically disassembling their technology at the molecular level. Multiple distress signals detected, Hayes reported with a grim smile. "Their entire command and control network is going dark." Sarah allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The consortium had dismissed humans as primitives, incapable of matching their technological prowess. They never considered that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to think differently, to find solutions that defied conventional wisdom. "Message from Admiral Wong," Rivera announced. "Operation Shadow Strike is green across all sectors. The Ghost Fleet is engaging multiple targets." Across consortium space, other stealth vessels were launching similar attacks. Each strike was carefully calculated to create maximum confusion and fear. The aliens had never faced an enemy they couldn't see or fight conventionally. "Their reinforcements are arriving," Hayes warned. 5 heavy cruisers jumping in. "Let them come," Sarah replied calmly. "They still don't understand what they're dealing with." The new consortium vessels immediately began firing into empty space, their weapons seeking targets that weren't there. Their sensors, designed to detect known forms of stealth technology, were useless against the quantum field. "Second penetrator swarm ready," Rivera reported. "Hold position," Sarah ordered. "Let's watch them panic first." The psychological impact of their attacks was as important as the physical damage. Every failed attempt to detect or engage the Ghost Fleet reinforced the consortium's growing fear. Their certainty in their own superiority was crumbling. On the consortium ship's bridges, chaos reigned. Officers trained in conventional warfare found themselves facing an enemy that defied their understanding. Their mighty weapons were useless against an opponent they couldn't target, and their advanced shields offered no protection against attacks at the molecular level. "They're trying to establish a defensive perimeter," Hayes observed. "Standard containment protocol." Sarah smiled. "Predictable. Launch the second swarm. Target their sensor arrays this time. Let's blind them completely." The Wraith's drone struck again, and more consortium systems began to fail. The alien vessels, now effectively blind, began firing randomly into space, hoping to hit something, anything. "Message from their command ship," Rivera announced. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." "Let's hear it," Sarah ordered. The voice that filled the bridge was filled with barely controlled panic. "Unknown vessels, we demand you show yourselves. Face us in honorable combat." Sarah's response was simple. "You demanded our submission. We offer you fear instead." The Wraith and its sister ships continued their assault, methodically dismantling the consortium's military infrastructure. Each attack reinforced a simple message. Humanity would not be conquered or contained. They had evolved beyond the aliens' understanding, and that evolution had turned them into the perfect predators. As the battle concluded, Sarah reviewed the damage reports with satisfaction. Not a single Ghost Fleet vessel had been detected or damaged, while the consortium had lost an entire battle group to their molecular weapons. "Set course for the next target," she ordered. "The hunt continues." In the void of space, the Wraith vanished completely, leaving behind only wreckage and frightened aliens trying to comprehend their new reality. The shadows of human defiance were spreading across the galaxy, and the consortium's age of unchallenged dominance was coming to an end. Breaking the chain. Supreme Commander Vexthor's claws dug into the metallic surface of the conference table as he faced the Consortium High Council. The holographic displays around them showed the devastating extent of the Ghost Fleet's attacks. Dozens of supply lines severed, communication networks shattered, and entire battle groups reduced to drifting wreckage. "Our empire is under attack," he growled, "and we cannot even see our enemy." Councillor Zorak, her crystalline form shimmering with agitation, spoke up. "How can mere humans possess such technology? We monitored their development for centuries. This should be impossible." In the darkness of space, the answer to their questions was methodically dismantling everything they had built. Admiral Wong's Ghost Fleet had split into 3 task forces, each targeting critical infrastructure that kept the consortium's vast empire functioning. Aboard the Spectre, Admiral Wong received the latest reports with grim satisfaction. Status of Operation Stranglehold. Task Force Alpha has disabled their primary antimatter production facility in the Centauri sector, her AI assistant reported. Task Force Beta has destroyed their quantum communication relay network. Task Force Gamma continues to disrupt their trade routes. The strategy was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of engaging the consortium's military directly, they were attacking the complex supply chains that kept their empire running. Without antimatter fuel, their massive warships would be stranded. Without quantum communications, their responses would be delayed and uncoordinated. "Signal from Captain Chen's task force," announced Commander Jackson. "The Wraith has identified a high-value target." The tactical display shifted, showing a massive space station hidden in an asteroid field. Intelligence suggested it was one of the consortium's primary research facilities, where they developed their most advanced technologies. "Tell Sarah to proceed with the attack," Wong ordered. "It's time to show them how far behind they've really fallen." On the Wraith, Captain Chen prepared her crew for their most ambitious strike yet. The research station's defenses were formidable, but they had never been tested against humanity's quantum field technology. "Multiple security layers detected," Lieutenant Rivera reported. "Graviton barriers, phase shields, temporal disruption fields. All based on principles we've already surpassed," Sarah replied confidently. "Deploy the new variant of penetrator swarms. Let's see how their defenses handle our latest innovation. The improved drones were smaller than their predecessors, enhanced with primitive quantum intelligence. They could adapt their attack patterns in real time, learning from each attempt to breach the station's defenses. As the attack began, the station's automated systems detected nothing. The quantum field rendered the Wraith completely invisible, while the microscopic drones slipped through gaps in space-time too small for the consortium's sensors to detect. Inside the station, alarms suddenly blared as critical systems began failing. The drones had bypassed every defense, targeting not just the facility's technology, but the very foundations of its research. Databases were corrupted, experiments ruined, and decades of technological development erased. Back in the Consortium High Council, the crisis reached a breaking point. Another facility lost. Counselor Mextel rage. Our empire is being dismantled piece by piece, and we are powerless to stop it. Perhaps, a younger counselor named Krythar suggested carefully, we should consider negotiation. The chamber erupted in outrage. Negotiate? With humans? The very suggestion was an insult to their perceived superiority. But as reports of more attacks flooded in, the unthinkable began to seem inevitable. Admiral Wong watched the chaos spreading through the consortium's leadership with satisfaction. They're beginning to fracture, she observed. Their unity was always based on their belief in their own superiority. The Ghost Fleet's campaign had been carefully designed to exploit this weakness. Each successful attack not only damaged the consortium's military capability, but also shattered their confidence. Species that had accepted their dominance for centuries were starting to question their leadership. Message from our infiltration units, Jackson reported. Several member species are withdrawing their forces from joint fleet operations. They're citing security concerns about the humans' superior technology. Wong nodded. Fear is spreading faster than their ships can travel. Even without quantum communications, word of our attacks is reaching every corner of their empire. On the Wraith, Sarah Chen received new orders from Fleet Command. Her task force would lead the next phase of the operation, a direct strike at the consortium's core worlds, not to destroy them, but to demonstrate just how vulnerable they truly were. Plot a course through their defense grid, she ordered. It's time to bring this war to their doorstep. As the Ghost Fleet's campaign continued, the mighty consortium found itself facing an unprecedented crisis. Their technology, once the source of their absolute power, seemed primitive compared to humanity's innovations. Their strategies, unchanged for centuries, were useless against an enemy that had rewritten the rules of warfare. In the void between stars, humanity's vessels moved like phantoms, unseen and unstoppable. They had transformed from victims into apex predators, and the galaxy's balance of power was shifting with every strike. The chain of consortium dominance was breaking, link by link, and a new order was emerging from the shadows. The hunter's game. In the command center of the consortium's primary military base on Nexus Prime, General Vexthor watched the tactical display with growing dread. Another supply convoy had vanished without trace, the third this cycle. But it wasn't the loss of ships that terrified him. It was the message left behind, broadcast on all frequencies. You hunted us. Now we hunt you. The humans had transformed warfare into a psychological weapon. They didn't just strike military targets. They created an atmosphere of perpetual fear. No consortium ship could travel without wondering if invisible predators were stalking them through the void. Sir, his aide reported, mandibles clicking nervously, the Merchant Guild is demanding additional protection for their vessels. They're threatening to suspend all non-essential travel. Vexthor's scales darkened with rage. The Empire's economy was grinding to a halt as trade ships refused to leave port. The humans hadn't just found a way to defeat their military. They were destroying the consortium's very way of life. Aboard the Ghost Fleet flagship, Spectre, Admiral Wong coordinated the next phase of their campaign. Status of Operation Nightmare. Proceeding as planned. Commander Jackson replied. Captain Chen's task force is in position near their capital system. The other groups are ready to begin synchronized strikes across 17 sectors. Wang studied the strategic display with satisfaction. The consortium's mighty fleet had been reduced to plain defense, clustering around their core worlds while the outer regions fell into chaos. Their attempts to adapt to the human threat had been predictable and ineffective. "Begin the synchronized attack," she ordered. "Let's show them nowhere is safe." Throughout consortium space, ghost fleet vessels emerged from quantum fields just long enough to launch devastating strikes before vanishing again. The attacks weren't random. Each target was chosen to maximize psychological impact. On the Wraith, Captain Sarah Chen watched as her ship's quantum sensors mapped the defenses around the consortium capital. "They've doubled their patrol ships," she noted. "Tripled their sensor coverage." "Won't help them," Lieutenant Rivera responded with a grim smile. "They're still looking for us in normal space." The Wraith's improved quantum field technology allowed it to operate partially phased out of regular spacetime, making detection impossible with conventional sensors. But the real advantage was psychological. The consortium's leaders knew humans could strike at any moment, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. "Launch the Phantoms," Sarah ordered. A new type of drone emerged from the Wraith's launch tubes. These weren't weapons. They were designed to create false sensor readings, ghost images that would appear and vanish randomly throughout the consortium's defense grid. The effect was immediate. Alien ships began firing at shadows, wasting energy and revealing their positions. Patrol patterns broke down as captains chased phantom signals, leaving gaps in their coverage. "They're starting to break formation," Hayes reported from Tactical. "Their discipline is cracking." Sarah nodded. "Now we strike. Target their command and control nodes with penetrator swarms. Let's see how they coordinate without leadership." The attack was precise and devastating. Key command centers went dark, communication networks failed, and the carefully organized defense of the capital devolved into chaos. Back in the Consortium High Council, the situation had become dire. "We cannot sustain these losses," Councillor Zarok declared, her crystalline form dulled with stress. "Our people are losing faith in our ability to protect them." "The humans are everywhere and nowhere," another councillor added. "Our citizens live in fear, waiting for the next attack." The psychological impact of the Ghost Fleet's campaign had exceeded all expectations. Species that had been part of the consortium for millennia were now questioning their allegiance. The mighty empire that had ruled through fear was now experiencing that same fear firsthand. Admiral Wong received the intelligence reports with satisfaction. "Their social structure is breaking down," she observed. "Fear is doing more damage than our weapons ever could." The Ghost Fleet's strategy had evolved beyond simple military victory. They were systematically dismantling the psychological foundations of the consortium's power. Every failed defense, every vanished ship, every mysterious attack reinforced the message. The hunters had become the hunted. "New intelligence from our probes," Jackson announced. "Several member species are preparing to declare independence from the consortium. They're saying humanity has proven the Empire is no longer fit to rule." Wang allowed herself a small smile. "They're learning what we learned long ago. True strength isn't about size or technology. It's about adaptation, innovation, and the will to survive." As the coordinated attacks continued, the consortium's mighty empire began to crumble from within. Their rigid hierarchy, once a source of strength, now prevented them from adapting quickly enough to the human threat. Their technological superiority, maintained through centuries of complacency, had been surpassed by human innovation. On the Wraith, Sarah Chen received confirmation that their latest attack had succeeded. The consortium's capital defense grid was in shambles, their mighty fleets reduced to scattered, disorganized groups searching desperately for an enemy they couldn't find. "Send the final message," she ordered. Throughout consortium space, on every screen and communication channel, the words appeared. "Your empire is built on fear. We have shown you what real fear is. Tomorrow, we show you what mercy looks like." The hunter's game was reaching its conclusion, and humanity had rewritten every rule. The consortium's age of dominance was ending not with a grand battle, but with the quiet terror of knowing they were no longer the apex predators of the galaxy. Dawn of recognition. The Grand Council chamber of the consortium capital world fell silent as the impossible happened. In the center of the room, a human figure materialized, a hologram, but one of unprecedented clarity. Admiral Maya Wong stood before the assembled alien leaders, her presence both a demonstration of power and an offer of peace. "Your empire is finished," she stated simply, "but humanity does not seek your destruction." Supreme Commander Vexthor, his scales dulled with exhaustion, faced the human admiral. "How?" he demanded. "How did you advance so far beyond us?" "You gave us no choice," Wong replied. "When you attacked Earth, you forced us to evolve or die. We chose evolution." Around them, holographic displays showed the true extent of humanity's ghost fleet. Hundreds of ships surrounding the capital world, all operating in quantum fields that made them invisible to consortium sensors. They had been there for days, proving that even the Empire's most heavily defended world was vulnerable. Aboard the Spectre, Wong's physical form stood at her command station, coordinating with Captain Chen's Wraith and the rest of the fleet. The holographic projection was just another example of human innovation, quantum-entangled communications that couldn't be intercepted or blocked. Multiple consortium vessels attempting to power up weapons, Commander Jackson reported. "Let them," Wong ordered. "They need to understand their situation completely." On the Wraith, Sarah Chen watched as her ship's systems interfaced with the consortium's defense grid. Their quantum field technology had evolved beyond mere stealth. They could now interact with enemy systems at a fundamental level. "Initiating system override," Lieutenant Rivera announced. "Their weapons are being powered down. Defense grids are going offline." Throughout the capital system, consortium ships found themselves unable to activate their weapons or shields. The humans had achieved complete control without firing a single shot. Back in the council chamber, Wong's hologram continued. "Your empire was built on the assumption of technological superiority. That assumption is no longer valid." The alien counselors exchanged glances, their various physiologies all showing signs of stress and fear. Centuries of absolute power had left them unprepared for this moment. "What are your terms?" Counselor Zorak asked, her crystalline form dimmed with resignation. "Recognition," Wong replied. "Recognition of humanity as equals. Recognition of all species as potential equals. The age of empire is over. We propose a new galactic council where all species have a voice." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some counselors raged against the idea of equality with lesser species. Others, seeing the inevitable, began calculating how to preserve their influence in this new order. "And if we refuse?" Vexthor challenged. Wong's hologram smiled. "Look around you. Your weapons are useless. Your defenses are compromised. Your member species are declaring independence. Refusal is not a viable option." On the Wraith, Sarah Chen received updated readings from their quantum sensors. "The consortium's auxiliary fleets are standing down," she reported to Admiral Wong. "Their commanders are refusing orders to attempt resistance." The Ghost Fleet's campaign had succeeded beyond their highest expectations. They hadn't just defeated the consortium militarily. They had broken their will to fight, their belief in their own superiority. "We offer you a choice," Wong continued, addressing the council. "Join us in building something new or fade into irrelevance. Humanity has no desire for empire. We seek partnership, not dominance." As if to emphasize her point, the Ghost Fleet vessels briefly dropped their quantum fields, becoming visible to consortium sensors. The sight was overwhelming. Hundreds of human ships, their technology far advanced beyond anything the aliens possessed, surrounding the capital world in perfect formation. "How can we trust you?" Zorak asked. "How do we know you won't use this power to become what we were?" "Because we remember what it was like to be the hunted," Wong answered. "We remember fear, and we choose to end it, not perpetuate it." The council chamber fell silent as the truth of humanity's victory sank in. They had not just developed superior technology. They had evolved beyond the very concepts that had defined the consortium's power. "We accept your terms," Councillor Krythar announced, stepping forward. As the youngest member of the council, he had been the first to recognize the inevitability of change. "The consortium surrenders." Admiral Wong nodded. "Then let us begin anew. The galaxy enters a new age, not of empire, but of cooperation. Not of fear, but of mutual respect." As the formal surrender was drafted, the Ghost Fleet maintained its vigilant watch. Humanity had achieved what seemed impossible. They had defeated an interstellar empire not through brute force, but through innovation, strategy, and the determination to create a better future. On the Wraith, Sarah Chen looked out at the alien capital world. "Do you think they'll actually change?" she asked during a private communication with Admiral Wong. "They'll have to," Wong replied. "We've shown them a better way. And if they forget," she glanced at the quantum field generators that made their ships invisible, "we'll remind them." The dawn of a new era had arrived. Humanity, once dismissed as primitive, had become the architects of galactic peace. They had turned their greatest defeat into ultimate victory, not by becoming conquerors, but by forcing the galaxy to recognize a fundamental truth. True power lies not in domination, but in the capacity to change, adapt, and grow beyond the limitations of the past.